We are live. My friends, DrewCouver, I'm here. It's 6:30. And again, I'm new at this, and I'm grateful that we're all here. I've got two incredible men here with me tonight, Jim McMurtry and Clyde. And I'm just, you know what, we're just going to open this up, and I'm not going to, I don't even know if people are in here yet. Tonight we're going to talk for about 45 minutes. We're going to talk the topic of Family Day. Today is Family Day, and as many of you know that are here watching, I'm in Tumbler Ridge. I'm boots on the ground. I came up as a hey, there we go. We got Francis in the house. There we go. We got more people. What's up, Drew? I'm in Tumbler Ridge, my friends, and I came up here with a great security apparatus. He's about 6 foot. How tall are you? 6'2". I got a security guard with me up in Tumbler Ridge. Not that I needed one, folks, because there's about 300 police officers. I don't really want to talk about what happened today, who I connected with, the stories that I got, because that's not what's important today, my friends. Today it's Family Day. It's a great holiday that started, I think, a decade or two ago, specifically to talk about families, bring families together, do the fun things that families do. So I'm going to, without further ado, I'm going to bring Clyde and Jim into the house, and we're just going to talk. We're just going to sag and talk and have fun, and let's kick it off here. Uh-oh. There we go, just like that. Hey guys, how you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me.
Clyde, you're awesome. I got you on. This is amazing, Clyde. I got Clyde Do Something on my channel. Listen, man. I have like this. You guys just have to understand something. I have had dinner with Al Pacino. I have like done some crazy things in my life and my work, and I always just like personally, I just said, what the fuck, right? People, I don't care. Like, I got this movie star here. I've done this. I've done that. I've dated some people, some ladies that are like, you know, top 10 actresses in the Hollywood. I don't care about it. But something happened in 2020, guys, when all of the shitstorm happened with the world. And I started watching these YouTube channels, and I started watching these guys on TV, and I found this guy named Clyde. And Clyde, when did I meet you at the conservative AGM? Was it last March, right?
Yeah, I think we spoke before that, though. That was the first time it was the first time we actually met in person.
Our eyes met. I'm like, I'll never forget. I was outside. Jasper was there, who I was just hanging out with last week in another town in British Columbia. And I'm like, hey, Clyde, do you think I can have a picture with you? All the people that I've been around, all the big actors, all the big movie stars, all the big, you know, football players, NBA athletes. I look up to you guys so much, Clyde and Moose, and all the guys out there on YouTube that are changing the world. So, Clyde, I just wanted to say, first and foremost, thank you for all the things. I'm going to cry. It's been such an emotional day. For doing all the things that you've done for Canadians and talking to the Canadians about the centrics, like what's going on, what's been happening over the years. I stopped watching media in June of 2019 after Bonnie Henry started to cry about how many people passed away in April of 2019. It's like bullshit. And then I started watching you guys, and I was just like, you guys are heroes. Clyde, you're a hero to me. So I just wanted, from my heart to yours, bro, I just want to thank you so much. God bless you. And Jim, you're a true warrior, bro. You've been stripped of everything. You're wearing shorts. You're wearing pants right now, or your boxers. You've been stripped of everything, and you just keep going on. And I think the first time Jim and I met was, was in Kamloops. And we had a couple of talks after that. And I think Jim and I, we probably talk almost every second day now. I'm just grateful for this. So, guys, I just wanted to just really say thank you so much for being here. I appreciate everything that you guys do and everything that you talk about. And Clyde will be joining you in the US soon, I think, if the world keeps going the way it goes. So let's just talk. Let's just have an open conversation about, families. What does family mean to us? What it was like 10 years ago. And anyone want to open it up?
Clyde?
Jim?
Okay, I'll jump in. I don't know what family is for everybody else. I know like people give lip service to it all the time. You hear about it in the media, you hear about it from politicians. But family's always been a big part of my life. It's so important to me that like when in my early years, I was always looking for a significant other to have. I married very young. A lot of people tell me it was too young. What are you doing? You're crazy. I was in my early 20s when I got married, and I got married after only knowing my wife for a year. We're about to celebrate our 20th anniversary coming up this summer. So like,
you're lying. You're lying.
No, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. So I've always wanted to have a partner in my life, and from a very young age, and yeah, so that was very important. And then, my wife and I, we spent a good amount of time together, traveling, doing the things that we wanted to do. And then it was like, now's the time. Let's start a family. And we did that. And that was about going on 12 years ago. We started a family. We have 2 beautiful children, and I can never be happier. I don't share a lot of that on my channel because my channel is mostly about, the news, that kind of thing. But I've always wanted a wholesome life, and that's what I've created for myself. I wish nothing but that for everybody else, and I wish that everybody could champion that as one of the top pursuits of their lifetime. And yeah, that's what I think of family. I think it's a very personal thing for every individual. It has been for me, and without them, I wouldn't be the man I am today.
Kind of like a religious aspect in the relationship that one has with their. I'm a very spiritual person, I believe. I don't really know about the Jesus thing, but I know there's a God and it's not me. And when I work with people in therapy and in addictions, they always ask me, well, who am I supposed to pray to? And what's that? I just look at people and say, your relationship with your power greater than yourself is yours. It's yours and yours alone. I could never define what mine is, but I hope you find what it is that I have, because what I found helps me get up every morning and do the things that I need to do. I really appreciate that, Clyde. I didn't realize you're so young and you've been married for so long. And, it's
and I'm not really Mormon or anything.
You only have 2. You only have 2 kids.
Yeah, no, that's it. I only have 1 wife. So it's always been an important thing for me. We always joke because I've been married twice, right? So we got married in Canada, and then we also got married in Japan because they don't recognize the marriages in Canada over in Japan. So it's a joke. We're gonna do it again. We want to get married for a 3rd time in the US. I hope it's in Vegas, and I hope it's Elvis that does it for us.
Can I have an invite?
Funniest way to do a 20-year anniversary.
Do I get an invite?
Oh, dude, it'll be like side of the highway. Like, if it costs more than $50, like we're spending too much.
Oh, you're awesome, buddy. I love you. I love you, Jim.
Well,
I'm going to ask you to go down the rabbit hole. Talk about what family is and all that stuff, and your situation. I know that I'll start at the end, and then you can take it over. But I was talking to Jimbo yesterday. Or 2 days ago, and he was running the hill or something with one of his boys. And then the next morning, which was yesterday morning, he was at the park with, I think, 2 or 3 grandkids. Anyways, I'll let you go, bro. Tell us your story.
Well, thank
People
you.
want to know it's family day.
I've got a big family here in British Columbia, and I'm very proud to say that they haven't been in one jail, the one in Chilliwack. So anyhow, my wife and I were very much in love, and then we met. Well, I don't know what you want to say. My family, I guess this is the way I've been ever since I lost my job. I've been programmed, so I want to relate it to what's happening in schools and in society and so forth, and say that I believe really fundamentally in family values, and in every family there are people who are different. I have two sisters, for example, who are in same-sex relationships, and who cares? I mean, I'm one of 6 kids. My wife is one of 6 kids. We have people in with every single disorder or dysfunction or whatever, and that's a regular family. So one of the things that I think people misapprehend is, if you're part of a group that believes in free speech and rights and is against the creeping totalitarianism that we're seeing around us, that you're somehow against this group or that group. No, it's the opposite. A real family man embraces everybody in that family, whether it's the crazy drunk uncle or your cousin that never talks to anybody and I don't know, lives in the forest. You love everybody and you make it work. That's how he was as a teacher, and I think it's absolutely shocking that the school system, and if not our whole society, has moved away from these very basic values. Treat others as you would want them to treat you, and be good to people. Be honest. I came to, I became a minor influence on X, and that's why I'm here right now, and that's how you people got to know me. And it really came about from no other reason than just saying, I'm going to stick to my principles, and I'm not going to go along with the invading children and they're asking about their sexuality and giving them pronouns or asking about them and doing the land acknowledgements and telling them that their race is going to determine their lives. I mean, I'm just a teacher who wants to bring everything back to the values that I think all 3 of us grew up with.
Yeah, there's just there's a lot to dig in what you said, Jim. I come from a wonderful mother and father that were they went to a bar in Thunder Bay. My mother went to the bar with some guy. My father went to the bar with some lady, and they ended up leaving together. And they had their first wedding. They had their first Christmas together without kids. And then followed 7 children, 10 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren before my father passed away. I think my mom's got 5 great-grandchildren now. And what happened is at the end, my father ended up had cancer, and we found out in February. He was born February 28th, 1938, I think. He got cancer, and the doctors gave him 3 months to live. And he guys, I got to tell you this story because it's a love story, and it's my parents' love story. I went home. My mom called me. I went home. My dad needed an oxygen machine, so I went to the oxygen surplus store, and I picked out an oxygen tank. It was about $4,000 or $5,000. Phoned my brothers and sisters. I've got 6 brothers and sisters. One of them is mentally handicapped. I don't call autism or FAS or ADHD. It's just she grew up mental retardation, and that's what she calls it. So I'm gonna honor her, and I'm gonna call that, no matter what the government tells me I have to say or not say. Fuck them, but God bless. But my dad, he got the oxygen tank, and he said to my mother, he said, I'm gonna make it. I'm going to make it to November 2026. And that was their wedding anniversary. It would have been their 50th wedding anniversary. And we're going to renew our vows in the church with our children, our family. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because my father was way too ill. But the pastor came over to the house, and I always get fucking God bless. My mom and dad renewed their vows with their pastor by themselves. And then I guess my dad called everyone, and he said, I've made it this far. I'm going to make it to Christmas. And we're like, what the fucking, the determination of this dude, man, this, my dad, David, the determination. He said, we spent our first Christmas together, babe, and we're going to spend my last together without any kids. So he called all of his children, grandchildren, and said, no one's allowed to call on the 24th, 25th, or 26th. It'll just be Jackie and I. And he made it. And then he made it. And of course, December 27th came along, and everyone's waiting for the phone calls. So we get all the phone calls. Then he says he's going to make it to his birthday on February 27th. February 27th. And he had his children there that day on February 27th, except for one of my sisters. She was unable to make it. And he said goodbye at like 5:15 p.m. He said goodbye. And my mom and I were in the room, and he took his last few breaths. And if you've ever watched someone go to the other side, it's really not a scary thing. It's actually really quite a beautiful thing. But he took his breaths, he struggled, and then his body kind of went a little bit of static. And my mom looked at me. I was holding his right hand with my left hand, and my mom was holding his other hand with both of her hands. And she looked at me and she says, "Is he gone?" And I said, I think he's gone, Mom. And she looked at me and he goes, "Nope." And she turned around and she opened up the fucking window. And I felt like goosebumps on my back. He left the room. It was like the most amazing story. And Jim, I have these things sometimes. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll open up my window and I'll sit there, and sometimes it's just like fucked up. I can feel this air come across, and it's happened a couple of times, and I don't know why. I'm not even thinking of him. I'm not thinking nothing. I'm just thinking it's hot out. I got to open up my window, and then I go and lay down, and then I just call out, "Dad," and this is the weirdest thing. Like I feel like he's in the room, and it's just like, and what that brings me to, my friends, is I think what brings me through is like, I think the family, the unity, right? It's that unity that we grew up with, and it's that responsibility to be one and be together. It's so important, and family is just super, super, super important. Thanks. I think Clyde's talking to some people. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about what's happened here in Tumbler Ridge. I'm sure there's people in here that want to talk. And what's your guys' story, Jim? What do you think's going on with all this media bullshit? I know Jim can probably talk on this media stuff. I'm sure he's following.
Well, I'll be very quick and then I'd love to hear Clyde. The thing that I think upset an awful lot of people on social media platforms is they weren't referring to a biological male as such. And I think, we're never going to get anywhere as society if we can't be honest about things. It was relevant. Obviously, there are many factors, mental illness being likely the lead issue, but there are many things. This is a guy who didn't have a father around. I'm sure there was poverty, divorce. The mother clearly has a mental illness herself. Wanted him, it seems, wanted to have a child that transitioned. And there are reports, quotes from various sources about saying that he wasn't happy with how it turned out for him, which doesn't shock someone like me. The idea of mutilating and making a child or a young adult sterile, obviously that's not going to work out well for most people. But this is what we're doing, is we're now looking at Tumbler Ridge as a gun issue. And I've been in the North long enough to know that a lot of people need guns to live there safely. So it's just an absolutely outrageous thing that they don't want to, address the elephant in the room, which is, this is a guy, among other things, this was a guy who was on cross-sex hormone treatment when he was already having a hard time just managing with life. And then, of course, the police bringing rifles back to the house after confiscating them. So a lot of things went wrong, but you're not going to solve any problem by pretending it's something else than really what it is. And this young guy didn't get the treatment he needed right away. And And most importantly, he should not have been encouraged to transition. And if anybody's uncomfortable with that, then I think then those people too are dishonest. This is kids deal with so much, man. I spent my whole life around teenagers. It's like I never got out of high school because I've always been one as a teacher and a principal and various things. Like I know teenagers. It's not an easy time, and it wasn't an easy time for me. And so don't complicate things by throwing in, oh, by the way, you're in the wrong body, or we're going to deal with your fetish or your fantasy. And by having you take these treatments that could end up making you much more depressed and psychotic. So that's the one thing that, of course, mainstream media isn't addressing. Thank you for listening to that.
Jim, I love people. I'm doing something good, man. I don't know what's going on. I just got someone sent a beautiful message. I'm not going to talk about that. Jim, how many years were you a high school teacher? The decades?
Well, I was always a high school teacher for about 45 years. I'm still teaching, Andrew.
Yeah, no, I know you're still teaching. 40
4
decades.
I'm not supposed to, but I'm still teaching. My point is that I'm 67 in a few days, and I started teaching from the very beginning of graduating. So a long journey. And once again, I hope people can understand this. There's nobody here on this set or anybody that I move with who has anything against anyone who's transsexual or homosexual or bisexual or anything. I mean, live your life as you wish. I'm just saying, let kids get through childhood first. Mm-hmm. Before adults come in with their manipulation, with their agendas, with their propaganda. Because I think in many cases, what you're seeing in schools is it's really not about helping kids. Oh, no. When there's a divorce, it's about, what's in the best interest of a child. That's what the lawyers in my family are always talking about. If you are getting kids, you're putting kids in race bias, you're getting kids to tell everybody about their sexuality. If you're getting kids to do land acknowledgements and convincing that they're not on their own land, they're on stolen land. If you're getting kids not to read literature anymore, getting them to have a really perverted idea of early Canadians and our history. If you're doing this to kids, you're doing the wrong thing. I think our society, particularly in schools, you talked to Andrew a few minutes ago about, in the last decade, because something really went wrong in that last decade. We're getting away from family values, from Christian values, from Enlightenment values. And mm-hmm. I can say that right now, and you and Clyde aren't going to get mad at me and call me a racist and delete me.
No,
because you guys, yeah, because you guys respect the fact that, we're intelligent adults and we're just trying to get to the bottom. And I think I'm so proud of Andrew.
What's going on?
You just froze for a minute, but I'm so proud of you, Andrew, that you're putting your words to action. You're getting on airplanes and you're going out and you're dealing with serious societal problems. Okay. You being in Tumbler Ridge right now is an amazing thing. So hats off to you, my friend.
God bless. Chad or Clyde, how do I put the messages into the thing?
Okay, just click on it. It's on the side. You just click on it and it should pop right up onto the window.
Just all of them?
No, whichever one you want. It's off to the side, so you just click it and it pops it up onto the window.
And can you put all of them on like how you used to do?
No, I did that in a different way.
Okay, you do that in a different way.
I think there is a way to do it. I don't typically do it on.
Someone just sent me like $400 donation.
Money for charity.
Money for charity. Like I shout out, like I just, I have gotten so much, like I just can't, like I've been talking to you guys all week because I've just had so many.
So I'm not freezing, but you're freezing.
Yeah,
Andrew.
I tell you.
Yeah, no, it's just Andrew. I think it's because he's in Tumbler Ridge and they don't have the best internet there.
That's right. Yeah.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, bye. I just yeah, DrewCouver.com, folks. Check my website out. Someone made it for me. They sent it to me. They said, "What do you think?" And then people have just sent me so many beautiful emails. And this lady sent me a donation of $27, and I bawled for like 5 minutes. She just said, "Can you please help keep the addicts alive?" Like it just like, it's really just amazing, Clyde. Like, and I give props to, take nothing. I give props to the people before me, my leaders, my mentors, people like Jim, older men than of me that I look up to, and I look down to younger guys like Clyde for faith. And as long as I got like Clyde, and as long as I got Jim, I'll be okay. Like, and again, right? Is that what family's all about, right? It's about coming together and unity.
Absolutely.
So you could probably talk, Clyde, when Andrew's frozen.
Right.
I probably can.
I know it's freezing up.
Yeah, no,
I'd love to hear what your take on Tumbler Ridge, Clyde.
Yeah, Clyde, go.
Well, okay, so my take on Tumbler Ridge, I think, is a really complicated story that we're not getting much of the real story in this. So we're hearing reports of the mother being a crazy left winger, but I'm also hearing reports from other people that she was actually a supporter of the Freedom Convoy, much more of an independent, maybe not even on the left politically. So we're not getting enough of this information. Some people are saying that this individual was transgender, identified that way from 2 years, for 6 years. This is what the RCMP are telling us, but I'm hearing from other independent journalists that this might not be the case. This might not be the truth of the story. We're not sure. We do know that there was some situations, wellness checks that went on at the household. It was, a single mother with a kid. The kid had some issues. There was an arson case, but then that didn't lead to any charges. And then I'm not sure. We're not sure about all this stuff. So is it true about the SSRIs? Is it true about the transgender thing? We're not even positive on this at this point. But the RCMP is confirming that is what the case is. RCMP are the ones that ran with that story. They told the media, they told the world that this is a transgender individual, identifies as a female, and the news media has been reporting this, not even talking about the transgender factor. They're just saying that this is a woman, and this is going to lead to a lot of problems. Frank Vaughan so eloquently put it, said this is going to lead to bad statistical data, because now is that going to be included in the crime statistics for women at this point? We should really know these things, but we're not openly discussing it. Obviously we are here, but in the mainstream media, they're not talking about any of the nuances of the story. And this is where everything's lost. I feel like some people are, sensationalizing it in one direction, sensationalizing it in the other direction, but there's not a lot of people actually just sitting down and saying how screwed up this whole situation is, how we're not being given all the real accurate information, and basically we can't trust anyone on this. So good job, Drew, for actually getting your butt onto a plane seat and getting up there so you can talk to the people in the town and see what's going on. Because from what you would understand, based on what the media is telling you, is like this is some sort of left-wing part of Canada. It isn't. Tumbler Ridge is actually quite right-wing. So the story's not being told honestly, in my opinion.
Clyde, I have had I've worked for many years with children, and I've heard horrific stories. I've been involved in taking care of children that have come from horrific situations, and I have had the unbelievable fortunate opportunity to get my ass on a plane, because if the supporters of my channel, a couple of people asked me, can you get up to Tumbler Ridge? I don't work. This is what I do. This is what I love. So I got up here, and there's two people here in Tumbler Ridge that reached out to me. I've been on the phone probably 5 long phone calls a day since I work as a trauma and crisis interventionist. I have a designation in mediation and negotiation. This is what I do. So I've been working with some people privately. So I'm not going to talk about that stuff, but I had the ability today to meet with the gentleman that actually talked with Drea from Rebel News a couple of days ago. I guess the first night that it happened, I spent 2 hours with that family, and then that family left, and then another person came in for a little, like 15-20 minutes. That person left, and then another family came in. I've got another meeting tonight at 8 o'clock, possibly another one at 9:30, and then I've got 3 tomorrow morning. And I can assure everyone that Tumbler Ridge is not a left winger. It's very strong people. They're the men here, the women here. They're beautiful people. It's an amazing town. It's a beautiful town. Thank you so much. My pizza's here. There's so many. Let me just say, the one lady I spoke to, and I shared just a touch of her story. She moved here, I think, about 4 years ago from another small town in British Columbia, and she came here about 2 years, probably about 2017, I think she said, and she came here on a work situation, and she fell in love with the town. Like, she fell in love with it, and she's like a hardcore, like, she's a mother of 3, awesome woman. She grew up. She didn't have electricity until she was 11 years old in her house in Vanderhoof, and just an amazing woman. And that she loves the town. The town is it's such a beautiful, small little, it feels like Jasper. It feels like Jasper, not Banff. It feels like Jasper. The people that I had conversations with, they want people to know that, this trauma thing, the trauma thing. Again, I don't want to focus on the stories, right? But there was a story today, and the guy said this, like, this is a big hockey town. The kids play hockey from as soon as they can walk, they're on skates. The situation is every level of like U6, U8, U9, U11, U14, U16, U18. So there's like 7 different levels of hockey. And the gentleman actually had kids on the ice the following day. It's like, we've got to get kids back in their life. They got to be doing things, and they've got to get back on the skates. And they were on the ice, and he was explaining to me about one story. There's a 14-year-old, I guess this person's got a potty mouth, just like I had a potty mouth when I was 14. And this 14-year-old had some problems with the U16 team. And something happened magical the following day. The 14-year-old played up with the 16-year-olds. And after the game, after their practice, they all sat down together, and there was no problems. There was no bad talk. There was no nothing. It's like they came together. The kids came together. I have another story to share, and I am working on a very big a documentary about the town. That's mainly why I'm here. My documentary is going to be on what Tumbler Ridge was 15 years ago. And not just so much Tumbler Ridge, Jim and Clyde, but what were small towns like in BC and in Canada 15 years ago? What happened 5 years ago? What's happening today in this world? And what do we forecast for the future? I've got a Facebook post, and I'm not going to share it because I'm not going to pry, like, the investigation. The police are doing an amazing job. It's massive. I'm in a hotel. How many? There's 5 floors? 4 floors in the hotel. It's full of police, and it's full of another person I'll tell you in a second. But this girl, there's a kid, a teenager. She's old enough to like do what she wants. She's like 14. She wrote a Facebook post saying she wants, this is what type of people are in Tumbler Ridge, my friends. She wants all the men, all the grandpas, all the uncles, all the brothers, all the men, the males, to make a circle around the school and hold hands, and then allow the mothers to bring their children in to the school to heal because they can't run from the trauma. They've got to focus and feel it and deal with it and move through it. They don't want to run from it. And you got to go like this kid said that, Jim. Like how do you process that? Like, is that strength, Jim? Like, would you hear that from a 14-year-old? Would you think you'd hear that from a 14-year-old? Like, your kids are going to run from it, or are they going to run to trauma or run away from trauma? What do you think, Jim?
Oh my gosh, maybe Clyde could answer that better. To me, the trauma thing is not something you should ever focus on. And that's what we're doing in society with kids. And it was never that when I was young. I like what you said earlier about you get out into the hockey rink and you continue on with your life. We all grow up with that. I've had an incredibly privileged life, but I lost the only cousin of my age, 1 year old died, SIDS. I mean, everybody's family's got lots of tragedy. And so to me with Tumbler Ridge, I know everybody, the politicians went there and they made it seem as though they were emoting with everybody. And there's this great display, almost like when the 215 graves was announced. Everybody was just in a bath of sorrow and sympathy and so forth. But I don't think that's good for kids. I think what happened was sad enough that we've got to move past this, and we've got to, understand it and make sure it doesn't happen again. But it's again, that's just sorry. That's my bias. The last point if I made, when my aunt was dying of cancer, she had my 4 cousins. The youngest was a little baby of a few months old. It was just absolutely horrible for them to lose their mother when they're all pretty much in diapers. But nobody was talking about the mother dying, and nobody was talking about the mother dying afterwards. It was just moving on. It was just keeping them happy and buoyant. Well, what do you want for dinner? And tomorrow we're going to do this. And next week we're going to go see, Uncle Billy or whatever. This is, I know the adults can do this, but the kids shouldn't be living this. This is why the situation with me, Andrew, is so pertinent, that they walked me out of teaching 5 years ago because I didn't want the trauma. Particularly, it was a false trauma. The Canadian teachers did not murder. Murray St. Clair said as many as 25,000 kids were murdered and missing. We have to, as a society, recognize that children, they're very delicate. So fight with the adults, help adults get through this. But I mean, with kids, you got to get them to turn the page. That's just
100%. 100%. What I was trying to say, Jim, is that there was this young girl that said she wanted to face it instead of running from it. She wanted to talk about what happened and why it happened, and not so much as of course, the most important thing, of course, and I this is what I do for a living. The most important thing to do is get back on the horse after a major trauma. You don't sit there and I'm going to sit in my sorrow, because people sit in their sorrow for a long time. And when my father passed away, my mother had gotten rid of his clothes. She got rid of everything, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what is she doing?" She's like, "He's gone. Why do I need his stuff here? It's just a memory. I don't need that. I have to move on. He's in my heart." And so it was just interesting to me that a young girl, female woman, the girl, she's a teenager or something, said she wants to face it. And she wants her men to be around her in a circle and save her and protect her. And I was like, that's the type of girls that are being raised here in Tumbler Ridge. He's a strong kid. But of course, you're absolutely right, Jim. It's important to get back on the horse. She wanted to face it and head on and move through it. But I do know that I do know personally and privately that, and I'll just share it. I met some families that were in talking to the Mark Carney and Pierre Polyev and what was her name? What's the lady?
Elizabeth May.
Elizabeth May was there, and that was a brilliant as much as people are laughing, I've never met Elizabeth May, but I've heard some stories about people that know her close. And
you should have gave her one of those AA cards.
Do you know what Elizabeth May drives? Do you know what kind of vehicle she drives?
She drives.
Anybody? She drives.
I
So
mean,
yeah, it's like a challenger.
oh, really? I just thought you couldn't after a couple, you know, you're not
Yeah,
supposed
no. So I don't think she's as green as most people think she is.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. As green as like the environmental people, right? You know what I mean?
Andrew,
But,
just
so
before
like,
we go to Clyde, if I could just say one last thing. So when Kamloops happened, and every single kid in Canada was told about this, and they're all reading Gord Downey's book, you know, about this sad case of a boy dying in a residential school. And I mean, they just completely weighted the kids down. And then they get $12 million from the government to deal with the trauma, and they hire counselors, and they build, most of the money goes towards a healing center right there. And they're saying, we're going to be dealing with for 7 generations. We're going to be thinking about the trauma for 7 generations. And that's just, to me, that's a recipe for a complete dysfunction. As far as the girl, sorry, you said something much wiser than what I said. That we all have to face, you know, the tragedy in life, the dark side of life, the upsetting thing. So absolutely. And sometimes it's best to wait a little while with kids, but of course you talk about it with them whenever they're ready. But I just, I love what you said, Andrew. Get back on the horse, man. Life ends for all of us, and at different times, and we lose so many of the people we really love, and we just have to deal with that. And so the school system is built so much on emotions now, and protecting kids. You can't protect kids from that. That happened. That's real. That loss is real. And so forget the feeling bit. Get on with understanding this is life. How do we move forward, and how do we make our lives beautiful and everybody else's life beautiful in Tumbler Ridge and anywhere else for the rest of their lives?
100%.
You don't put guns in the house of a mentally ill child. You don't put them on again, hormone treatment. There's lots of things that we're going to learn from this. And Clyde, you know, you're absolutely right. You made an incredibly important point. We don't know. In fact, we never really know the case until maybe you don't even know history until the further you get away for event. But I think we have a picture of you know, things that we're saying right now. I think they're going to, for the most part, play out. And I mean, I don't think we have a false story.
This is what they're going to do, right?
We're not going to get to the bottom of the things by listening to people who don't even understand what they're talking about. So CBC is a perfect example of this. CBC reporting on this story talked about the mother having a PAL, possession and acquisition license. Then in the same report say that there were restricted firearms in the place, and that's what she had. And you can't have those with a PAL. You have to have a restricted, like an RPAL, so it's a restricted possession acquisition license. Then in the same report also say that there was a modified handgun, which is a prohibited weapon. Like, not, and to say that the police are reporting on this, and then this is what CBC is telling the people, like, you can't buy that. Like, I just can't buy that information. I just feel like I'm getting wrong information. And then it's like, well, what is the right information? When the RCMP, why did they give the firearms back after they've been taken away? Why were they taken away in the first place? Was it a case that you had a mentally deranged person in a home? Why is it that everything here has become politicized? Okay, so we all know what the DSM-5 is. So the DSM-5 is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Psychology.
It's actually the 6 now.
A DSM-6. So in the DSM-4 and previous iterations, it was seen, gender dysphoria was seen as a mental disorder. Now it's no longer considered that as of the DSM-5, I believe. Now it's at the DSM-6. And the way it's not like any other science. The Diagnostic Statistical Manual is voted upon. They have a group of psychologists. They get together and they vote on these things. It's not actually just by the science or whatever people are saying, follow the science. Either way, was it a case that they lifted this prohibition because of the transgender aspect of it? Why did this occur? Can we find out this information? If they're saying that people who have gender dysphoria is no longer a mental disorder, but what other mental disorders are happening at the time? If someone is taking cross-sex hormones, what is that doing to their psyche? What is happening there? Now, I'm not for removing or, coming up with more strict gun laws. That doesn't need to be the case here. If the person was prohibited from having firearms, having a deranged person who has a history with the police, that's something that the police should have taken care of ages ago. Why were those firearms brought back? You got the chat into the thing. You got it. So yeah, these are the questions that need to be answered. This is where I've been looking in my reporting of this story. So where are we going forward?
The facts are the facts, right? I mean, I don't know about that stuff. I do know about all the gun laws and all that stuff, the DSM. I think gender is not science. I don't like even use the word gender, trans, all that stuff. It's like boy or girl, man or wife.
I could get into that for you. So this is actually semantics. It's sophistry that's come up.
Just 1 second, lad. You go ahead.
Yeah.
I haven't eaten since 5:30 a.m. I'm gonna have a slice of pizza.
Yes,
God bless you. You guys just talk all you want. You guys have a conversation. I need to eat some pizza because I'm dying here. God bless.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
I'd love, Clyde, you addressing what Andrew said. I'm with Andrew on that. You can't change people's chromosomes. So,
no.
But most importantly, if there's a fugitive out in the community who's done this, you need to give an accurate identification of that individual. To play some sort of sophistry over the fact that, well, in the last few years, we're calling men women if they put on a dress and high heels. Like, I just think that's outrageous. That's my view. I don't know.
So I like to get right to the bottom of it. I think that the idea of referring to people's gender rather than their sex is a trick. It's completely a trick right there. We shouldn't be talking about human beings in the idea of gender. It's only sex. Gender is a construct. It's a grammatical construct. It's not a cultural construct or anything like that, which is being purported. So what construct is it? Well, it has to do with grammar. There are actually 4 genders in the English language. Most other like romantic language, they only have 2. This is why they give masculine, feminine, terminology to inanimate objects. We don't do that in English. We have masculine and feminine. Those are not something you describe a person by, but the word that you use to describe the person. So you say the word boy, that is a gendered word. It means it's a masculine word for a young human child that is of the male persuasion, right? If you just said child, that word has a gender. It's indeterminate. It means the word itself, you're not getting a descriptor of whether that child is a boy or a girl. You're just hearing the word child. It's like dog, cattle, this kind of thing. But you hear the word cow, you hear the word, bull, you know what gender, what sex that animal is. That's what gender is. There's a 4th one, and that's neuter. We say it for things that are like tables, chairs, the sun, the sky. There is no gender. There's no sex to those objects. So there's no gendered language to go with it. But what's happened here is people have really confused the difference between gender, which is a grammatical construct, and sex, which is a biological construct that has a binary. And there's nothing more certain than the binary in biology than any other binary. There's spectrums all over nature, but not in biology. There's no spectrum.
Well, that's beautiful. And I'm completely in accord. And I just say in response to that, so, my situation was on the fact that people didn't want to offend Indigenous people. So they went along with something that I knew to be fictional, which was that there were graves and dead children and murdered by teachers and so forth, unmarked, mass grave. Anyhow, just went on and on and on because people were afraid to offend. But that's not what truth is. That's not what you do in a court of law. If you're going to put someone, my father was a judge and chief justice. You don't worry about feelings. you don't worry about the effective qualities of words or how they're going to land in some kids at any one particular time. You want to make sure before you put someone in jail for a long time that you have got it right. And I don't think that, I think the police made a disgrace of themselves. And one joke that I thought was really appropriate, someone said there was there was a news person who was speaking to a reporter person who was talking about the suspect person and the police person. And this idea we're focusing, use the word grammar, we were focusing on language after we had a report of 10 people being murdered in a small Canadian community. That is not a time to be playing language games. That's not a time to be woke for woke semantics, if there's ever a time. And I think what it does is it diminishes the tragedy here. I mean, that police officer embarrassed himself, embarrassed the police department across Canada, embarrassed the political establishment. And it's like the politicians going there with tears welling up in their eyes. And then they get back in the airplane and they go, okay, where do we go now? You know, is it time to eat? I mean, they're not living that. That event should have been for the people of Tumbler Ridge. I mean, those are the people that we should have been listening to, not to watch the politicians come out and call votes. So there's so much, but I love what you were saying earlier, Clyde, is just try and get at the facts, try and get at the truth. And you know, we're going to have a better sense as time goes on. And I apologize if I in any way mislabel anyone, like the mother, if she wasn't somebody who was, you know, a woke proselytizer, then I apologize for that. But that's what we're working with right now, as in the form of facts.
So we don't know for sure, but all research into the mother's social media looks as though she was a supporter of like the Freedom Convoy and things like that. So we're not seeing that. But it also raises the point, because then that actually makes things worse. You know, you're not talking about a situation where a person is some crazy leftist lunatic that's you know reassigned gender of their child. What you're seeing, what could be the case then on top of that, would be someone who's been perhaps indoctrinated in a school system or online echo chambers, and the mother's powerless to do anything about it because of recent legislation that's come up. Bill C-4 is something that's a huge example there. Now, the intent of Bill C-4 and the reason why people were publicly in favor of this was because of the horrors of what they called what was it? I'm drawing a blank on the term, conversion therapy. So, you know, I have a good friend of mine, Jack Decker. He went through that as a child. He was actually put through conversion therapy to try to make him not a homosexual man. Turns out he turned out to be a homosexual man anyway. And he was just traumatized through this horrible practice. Now, that being said, a lot of people were in support of wanting to get rid of conversion therapy. But what do the politicians do? They insert a ton of gendered language, stuff about transgender, stuff about all this other things. Now they've made it basically illegal that if your kid's indoctrinated in a school or indoctrinated by people on, for lack of a better term, Tumblr on the internet, not Tumbler Ridge, but Tumblr, the website, or they're indoctrinated through Discord servers, or weirdos hanging out on Roblox, the video game for children, which we all know is happening. And the video game company is not doing very much about what's happening on that website. And that's a whole other story we can get into. But this is the problem. That's all in the legislation now. This is law in Canada, that if you try to talk to your kid about something that they've been encouraged into, you could go to jail for trying to convince your kid, no, why, you could just be happy in the body that you're in. Just be happy that you are, you know, healthy and all that other stuff. No, you're not allowed to dissuade them from making life-altering, irreversible damage to their bodies. This is crazy, and we need to.
What is coming in that? I really love what you're saying, Clyde. So I have a lot of grandkids, as Andrew said at the beginning. You know, there are a lot of things that we ask little kids to do, but there's a lot of things, of course, we don't allow them to do. If my 10-year-old grandson said, "Can I go drive the car?" You say no. Well, we should damn well say that to any kid who's talking about changing his cutting off body parts at age 10. That's much more serious than a kid getting into a car. That's this is terrible harm. And so this idea that we're to me, it's not just trying to convince kids, it's telling kids that is a decision that you're not making until you're an adult. You're not driving a car, you're not carrying a weapon, you're not having children. There's lots of things you're not doing until you're old enough. We think you're not voting in an election until we think that you have the attributes and the maturity to do so. And so that's what disgusts me about school when they go up to 12 to kids in kindergarten, asking them the pronouns and explaining to them about and reading books to kids about transgenderism. Get that out of kids' lives. And so this is the passion that I have as a teacher. Don't damage children. And I think this killer, I'm not here to say, to indict the person.
He's 18 years old.
Pardon me? But
18 years old.
Yeah, but the kid wasn't getting the help the kid needed clearly years ago.
Clearly,
yes.
There's something to be said here, right? Like you guys know about the sibling group, right? Anybody know about the sibling group of Jesse's? No one knows. Breaking news. So there's a sibling group of 5, just so everyone understands the context of what people are not talking about. Jesse's one of 5. He's the oldest of 5. There's Jessa, there's Bella, there's 5 of them. Bella was 15, Ben was 13. Emmett, of course, God bless Emmett. He's Emmett's not here no more. And John's the youngest one. So it's a horrible situation. I don't want to say it because I don't want to distract what's going on with the police investigation, but there's 3 siblings there that are left. There's five in that family. So there's 3 kids there, and I haven't had a conversation. I met with one of the family members whose their child was in the room in a closet while this was happening in the school. And this person was talking. We had a long conversation about like the transference in time, guys, what's happened over the past 10 years and how quickly this has come in. I mean, Jim, because Clyde too, he's old enough to have the kids, right? And their kids are 12, right? So it's like 7 years. In 2015, we'd hear about, some schools throughout Canada would have these books in the library. It wasn't all of them. It was just a couple of them. There wasn't many. And just they slowly funneled in. And by 2021, I'm fairly certain I've been in, I could probably say 40 or 60 elementary schools throughout Vancouver, Burnaby, Richmond, North Vancouver, Coquitlam. In 2022, all the schools you walked in and there was like the trans flag. Like it's everywhere. Certain schools didn't have as much, but pretty much 90% of them had them. They're changing the names in the schools, principals. Now there's like teachers, leaders. There's no more vice principal in a lot of the schools. It's the administration, it's the system, and it's the teachers union that is just, in my opinion, has just introduced this it's just craziness. It's craziness. I laughed. I posted something on X a couple days ago. The last time I've been in elementary school was last April. I walked into a school. I walked into the school, and say it what it is. There was a man with like massively large fake breasts, with long hair all the way down to the waist, with a complete bald head and an Adam's apple, and spoke like a man but tried to sound like a woman. And that's the last time I went into the school. It's actually not, because I actually did go back with my media camera, my undercover detective cameras, to get a video, because people won't believe me. I actually sent that video to a couple of big reporters in Canada, but they wouldn't touch it. They wouldn't touch it. And I finally put on my axe. I did take it off because my lawyer said to probably take it off. But this has been a system that in Tumbler Ridge they've taken the bathrooms, for instance, the school, the bathrooms on the main floor. They took the boys and the girls' bathroom out. I don't know what it's like in your elementary school, Clyde, where your kids go, but from my understanding, kids' bathrooms, there's a boys' bathroom, there's a girls' bathroom. You walk in, it's a room. Girls have cubicles, they're doors, right? So teachers can at least walk into those spaces while kids are using the washroom so they can make sure there's safety things happening. It's safe. Now, what they've done in this school is they've taken the bathrooms out and they put in single bathrooms with doors and locks, right? So it's like a restaurant. It's this craziness. Now, can you imagine, like when I was in grade 8 or 9, if they would have had those bathrooms like that, how many kids would be being made in high schools? You know what I mean? Like it's just what I mean. It just doesn't make sense what they're doing and who's pushing it. Like, is it the school system?
And can I just give you an example, Andrew? And it relates to my previous point, and I really want this to Clyde to hear it as well, that I think parents are aware of what's happening in schools, so they're turning a blind eye, because how could you not be aware? But I got into conversation with my grandson when he was 5. He's my oldest grandson. He's now 8. And it was something to do with whether to put a Band-Aid on a cut or whatever. And he turned to his mother and he looked at her because he didn't want a Band-Aid. And he said, my body, my choice. That's a 5-year-old who's in kindergarten. So to blame the unions is important, but you need to blame everybody that walks into a school, the teachers, the parents, the kids, the officials, everybody that allows this to happen. It's brainwashing, it's indoctrination, and it's not just with regard to sex or sexual orientation. It's regard to people's views and all sorts of things. And when Andrew and I went to a number of universities, man, the physical violence was extraordinary. And poor Francis Whittleson and Dallas Brody and so forth. In other words, it's not just about sex or transgenderism. It's about all sorts of subjects. If you say something that the university students haven't been programmed to believe, then they're going to react in a violent way. I mean, we have a very serious problem with our school system. And I'm very grateful to people like you, Andrew, and obviously Clyde, all the wonderful things that he's done with his platform to make people aware of this.
We lived in a time, I can remember as a kid when my parents would go vote. I would say, Mom, who are you voting for? And I knew my mom always liked the NDP because just of her family and the government, but my dad never told us. So I didn't know. It was their opinion. It was like they said, Mom votes what she wants. I vote who I want. We both get a vote. It was given to us by our forefathers who fought for this great country and built this country. And it was the same thing with school. You go into school. We didn't learn about religion, even though in my elementary school in grade 3, 4, and 5, we did have a principal that came in and we had to do a prayer every morning just after we sang O Canada every morning. Remember that, Jim? He's singing O Canada every morning at school. And then we had to do a prayer. A lot of kids made fun of it, whatever, God bless. But we had teachers did not push. They weren't allowed to talk about religion. They were allowed to talk about religion in a construct of a history lesson, but they weren't allowed to push that ideology. They weren't allowed to say, go Jew, go Christian, go Muslim, like all that kind of stuff. And it's bewildering to me that today it's how do you feel? Well, you can be anything, and everything's allowed to be talked about. And in schools, it should be, math, English, science, athletics. I think those are, if I was a white LeBron James and had a whole bunch of money, I was a white LeBron James. I'm not, but if I was a good basketball player. I would start schools and I would just have those 4 subjects. Athletics, 15%. You have to understand this. 15%. Like you always talk about, who are the healthy kids? Who are the kids that aren't getting questioned? I worked with a couple of big organizations in British Columbia. One of them is Game Ready. I'd love to give a shout out to Will Loftus and Game Ready. They've done amazing work. But we were explained, it was explained to me in 2014. He's like, Andrew, we need to get more kids being active in school. I'm like, well, there's basketball, there's football, there's volleyball. You have to understand, basketball's in the spring, right? Football's in the fall, baseball's in the late spring. So all the kids that play football, play basketball, and play baseball. 15% of kids are actually athletes in the school. 85% of them aren't. And that's the percentage. When you look at the kids that are safe and kids that aren't safe, the kids that are in sports, they're kids, they're active. It's a boy and a girl, and they're playing sports. It's the 85% that's vulnerable. So if you put that in a context, 85% of the kids in schools in British Columbia right now, in Canada, are vulnerable to this ideology. And again, it doesn't have to be about sex. It's religion. It's Palestine flags. It's Canada flags. They're always using Canada flags as like this. I saw this last couple of weeks ago. Kids are like holding the Canada flags in Ontario at this rally. And the teachers were there. And you looked at the teachers and they weren't right wingers. They weren't conservative. They had orange and purple hair. And they were like 4 feet wide and 4 feet tall. God bless. I'm sorry, be in your own body. And if that's what you want to be, God bless you. But I choose to eat healthy. Even the pizza, it's amazing pizza. It's so good. I choose to eat healthy. I choose to work out. I was going through my own emotional distension there a couple of years ago. I bought an ice tub. I have an ice tub in my backyard. It's 2 degrees. Yes, it's 2 degrees. I wake up at 5:30 and I jump in that fucker. It's time to wake up. I punish myself. I push myself to move forward. Like that little girl said, she said, I have to go through whatever's in front of us. You can't go around it. You can't go underneath it. You can't go over top of it. There's only one way to go through that shit, is to go through it. But it's about getting through it, getting over it, and moving on. And yes, trauma will stay with you the harder it is, but you got to get through it. You just got to get through it. And this education system, it needs to be dismantled. I've got Clyde, I'm going to talk to you when I get back. I've got a person that wants to come out pretty hard in the school system. I've got some information today. I've collected a lot of data today from some amazing people in Tumbler Ridge, and I'm so grateful to the people that wanted me to come up. And I'm very grateful to your guy here, Clyde, that's come up here with me. Does anyone have any questions in the chat? I mean, we can talk about this all night. But if you have some questions,
a poignant thing Frances Widdowson said in the chat just a little bit ago here. She said, "There's no idea of objective truth anymore. That's the problem. This is the problem that we're seeing.
No idea.
There's this, subjectivity, my truth. What was it recently? Dallas Brody got in a lot of trouble for saying that, for mocking people about having their truth instead of the truth. Like, there's the truth. You may have objective or subjective opinions about how you feel about it, but that doesn't change what the truth actually is. Now, what was it that I heard recently? Somebody was arguing, because this has all become a game of semantics and it's a sophist playing field. You have to play the game in that way. Somebody came up with a great slogan, and it was the idea that for the unmarked graves, that those children should not be left in unmarked graves, and that they should be exhumed, and there should be a proper burial for every single one of them, and they should all be brought home. So bring them home was the concept there. And of course, it's because there is no children buried there. That's the whole point. But if there is, and the claim is that there is, they should have an honorable burial. They should be exhumed from their shallow grave that they were given and unmarked, and they should be, given a proper thing. So bring them home, I think, is a great way to point out to people that it's not about this. It really is just about power, influence, and money.
Yeah,
And
we're not
Drew,
hearing
you're
Andrew right
muted.
now. You're muted.
Sorry, friends. And again, check my website out, DrewCouver.com. I'm going to start making some shirts, some T-shirts, and selling them, and all the proceeds are going to go to some people that want to go to treatment. But one of those T-shirts, Clyde, should be bring them home.
Bring them home.
Bring them home. Bring them home
on a orange shirt. Bring them home
on an orange shirt. Bring them home.
Honorable burials for the Kamloops victims.
That would be amazing, right? There's so many things that we can, I always think about how to argue with someone. I teach this construct called verbal judo, how to de-escalate situations that baffle most, right? And sometimes you have to spit the words back into the abuser that's abusing you with their words. And, this orange shirt shit and this pink shirt shit. My kid was in school, and I'm not putting my kid in a pink shirt because of bullies. That's just absolutely ridiculous. And I'm so grateful that I had a fantastic relationship with the principal then, because I was at the school teaching kids how not to be a victim. Why do we have to point out the freaking bullies? I think you want to bully.
Yeah, if I may say it, but this is hypothetical, because I will say to you, I'll put money on the table to my two friends here that they're never going to dig in Kamloops. No. And the reason they're never going to dig in Kamloops is because of what Clyde said. There are no bodies there. They didn't do it. There were only 2 children that ever died at this school, Adrian George and Pearl Joe, and both tragically, nothing to do with the teachers. They were playing, and one drowned and the other hanged himself. So the reality is, again, this is another example of all smoke and mirrors and people living in some sort of alternate reality. They're never going to dig. There never were graves. No Christian burial ever was an unmarked grave. I think we need to, and this relates to what Andrew is saying about moving forward. I think the best thing for Indigenous people, and I care about Indigenous people, is not to dig, is not to talk about this anymore, to turn their heads from the past, from this absurdity about residential schools, which were free boarding schools, providing people with a leg up on modern society, and giving them the survival strategies, and which we're still doing with kids. Turn their head toward the future, and let them know that they have lots to be proud about. And Indigenous people were highly inventive and courageous and accomplished in so many ways. They survived in a wilderness that I wouldn't survive in for 5 minutes, and move forward. I just think it's so sad that we're caught in a past and particularly a false path. So that's where I am. But you can't have it. And I know Clyde and Andrew will agree with me on this. You can't have reconciliation or any sort of Canada coming together and moving together in a united way unless everybody, and particularly in the political chattering classes, admits that there's nothing in our past that we need to. There's no original sin. There's nothing we have to atone for. Let's just move on. Canada did its best. We failed in some ways. We did a lot of great things as well. We're moving on.
Yeah, and I have no idea what it's like to have my skin toned other than what my skin tone is. But I'm a British Columbian. And I've got a lot of friends, and a lot of people that live on reserve, and they have trauma. Their parents have talked to them about things that have happened, whether it was at a residential school or it was in a regular school or it was fishing or it was blah, blah, blah. Just like I have my issues and other friends that I know have their issues. But something that just really bewilders me, friends, is this whole survivorship. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse. I don't live in it anymore. I don't have trauma as a result of it. As a matter of fact, it's one of my super weapons, because when there's someone that someone knows me well and knows my story, not afraid of talking about my stuff. You know, someone may have a problem and they're like, hey, well, we can talk to Andrew because Andrew's experienced that. Andrew's worked through that. He's not only a counselor, but he's already had that experience, right? So yes, I'm a survivor, but I'm not sitting in my sadness in the survivorship. And we've used this word again, right? It's not the word, it's not what the construct means of survivor. Survivor is a past tense. It's like, I'm a survivor of like, I got hit today by Huge. He punched me right in the shoulder, Clyde. It hurt really bad. I survived it, you know.
I can imagine.
You're gonna get over. He's just sitting there. I know he's like so huge. He's just sitting in the room right now. He's laughing, right? The guy would hit me like, but anyways. But I survived it, right? Like Clyde, I punched you in the shoulder, right? You survived it. Okay, move on.
Yep.
And then maybe in like a month or two, someone else may punch you, and they might be as big as me, and you'll be like, oh shit, that reminded me of when Andrew punched me in the shoulder because he was a big guy. And that's survivor. But this whole bullshit about we have to live in the grief and the sorrow and the trauma and these stupid politicians, I'm sorry, I'm sick of it. Shooter person. Like, it's just stupid. They're trying to keep people in the suffering. And Jim, like you said, in the universities, again, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it. It's not so much the 3rd and 4th year students or the 5th and 6th year students. It's the 1st and 2nd year students. Because friends, if you look at the timeline, it's in 2019-20 that all of this started getting pushed hard. And in 2020, those kids in grade 7 and 8, right, are now 1st and 2nd university. Right. And when I go to the universities with my girlfriend, Frances, I know she's married, but she's my girlfriend. She's in here right now. Big shout out to Frances. She's my girlfriend. Frances is my girlfriend. When I go to Frances and I'm like with that girl, you know, like it's the 1st and 2nd year kids that are frothing at the mouth with masks on, up here, down here, like their whole face is covered. And you can see they're they're deranged. They're not deranged. They're humans, but they've been forced into ideology. Like that video I did, that my one big video, Clyde, that went off is 8,000 times is my biggest video ever. It was the UVic video. And it was the kids that were just, the 1st and 2nd year kids are gone. And we need to shift this back. So like, how do we get to where we want to go? One thing I was talking, Clyde, and a big shout out from my friend, what's his name? He's the MLA up here, Jordan Keeley. So I had a long conversation with Jordan last night on the phone. Great guy. I think he's the one MLA. He's the only MLA that if we can just mass produce Jordan Keeleys all over the province, we'd have British Columbia back. It's just that simple. There's no other difference. He just needs to get in, and we just need to multiply that dude. You know, there was two suicides up here. Crazy. The suicides not up here, but suicides all across British Columbia, and the stats, they're not giving the stats properly. I don't believe it. The hospital here, what happened here was how long ago? 4 months ago, the hospital here in Tumbler Ridge closed down, but they're only open from 9 to 3 or 9 to 5. The hospital for 3,000 people, it's only open 9 to 5. So like if you slice your own arm open, you know, if you break your leg because you're a kid and you're dirt biking or you're skiing or you're just fishing or you're playing with bang bangs, you got to go to another town.
Mm-hmm.
Like that healthcare system is crumbling around us. It's like the government, I don't want to say it online, but I feel as though there's a power greater than us. It has nothing to do with spirit, but it has to do with construct, and it follows from the crown down, from the federal to the municipal to the federal to the provincial to the municipal. It's like they want Canadians to fail. They want us to be in suffering. This is what I heard from all the people today. And this is what I've heard, friends, from all the people I've been talking to over the past year, boots on the ground across Canada. they want us to fail. I don't understand.
Well, it's horrible. But Andrew, I know time is short for you and for us. I'd love to hear from Clyde Clyde, it's so wonderful having you here in Canada. May I ask, is there any chance there's anything we could do to keep you here?
No, there's nothing that you can do. The decision's been made.
Stay home.
Yeah, the decision's been made. We'll be out of here by the summer and moving on. But I won't stop talking about what's happening in Canada. Obviously, having gone through everything and reporting on all of this stuff, I want to take the story of what happened to Canada, and I want to take that to the United States so that they can better understand what's going on. There's so many people I see all over the place, whether it's Tim Pool or a number of other podcasts, they talk about the Canadian situation and they get a lot of the facts wrong. They'll even invite some people that aren't telling you the truth on this thing. I saw recently, I had to make a video all about it because there was a guy who was a Doug Ford sycophant that went on the show and gave this gross misrepresentation of what actually is happening in Canada. And it was basically a political speech. So yeah, I think people are curious to hear about it. Generally, Canadians are only consuming mostly American programming. So what a better way to get to the heart of Canadians than to go where they actually go to watch stuff. So that's what I'm going to be doing. That's absolutely what I'm going to be doing. And
excited. I'm so excited for you, Clyde. I'm so excited for you, Clyde. Like I'm absolutely just when we were talking on the phone last night, it was your wife, it's your daughter. You guys were like looking at houses online, and like I felt the energy through the phone, the happiness that your daughter was sensing. Now, again, right, as far as family day goes, you only hear happy kids when what, Jim? You got a happy mommy and a daddy, and they're together and they're unified. And so all these kids, like I said, those 15%, the kids that are in the sports or the kids that are in church that are part of a church group or some sort of club, those kids are safe, but it's the big percentage that aren't. And like I said, Jim, I'm grateful that Clyde's going. I'm actually very grateful he's leaving, because he's going to go down there and he's going to be able to send the message to all those big podcasters and all the people down there, what is Canada? Because he's still connected. He'll be down there, but he's still connected. This is his home just as much as it's our home if he's living down there. And he'll be able to explain, I think, his experience, and his experiences. How valid do you think his experience is, Jim?
No, it's wonderful. And I see the tactic, and I think you also have to do what's best for your family. But I just for myself, I'm going to stay right where I am, because of course, you're not running for anything, Clyde. You're moving to something bigger and better. But what I'm doing with my pathetic little life and what time I have.
Oh, don't say that, bro.
I'm holding my ground. I'm right now involved in 4 legal processes against the union, regulatory body, employer, and the referee association that fired me. So, and that's Andrew too. He's going to be walking the streets of Vancouver and helping people. And so don't forget about us, man.
Oh, absolutely not. No, I won't forget. I won't forget. This is the big theme. This is the big story. This is what what people need to understand is actually happening, because Canada is working so hard to put everything behind a wall. They want it to be hidden from the world. They don't want people outside to see what's happening. I'll be the one taking that story out. I draw the parallel between North Korea and Canada all the time, and it's not hyperbole. They're actually trying to do a similar thing, and it'll bring Canada to a similar breaking point eventually, as the government becomes more in control of little aspects of your daily life, of everything, of what you're allowed to consume, what food you can eat, what social media personalities you're allowed to view. It gets more and more draconian. It's become overpowering. It's become over encompassing, and there's only one conclusion. It's lights out. That's what's going to happen. So I want people to see what's happening and be able to stay in contact with this ever changing landscape.
Clyde, we have a pretty good relationship. Can you talk to how, I don't even know how many people are on here, but for recordings for later, can you talk a little bit about what's going on with you behind the scenes in this whole trade thing? Like you're going to offer like some sort of work program or something like that for tradespeople to go down there. Is that still happening? Or
Yeah.
is it
So
talks or...
Yeah, so when I was first reporting on it, there was some of the facts that I had out there weren't I don't want to say weren't accurate, but I called it a visa instead of what it was. So I was talking about the EB2 national interest waiver, which is and this is a video that went viral on X where I was talking about it. I happened to be in the Minneapolis airport at the time, which I don't know, it just kind of happened to be one of the other big stories that was occurring. But I was flying to Texas and I got the news of this. So the national interest waiver is not a new thing, and this is what I said. I said a new visa. It's not a new visa. The national interest waiver hasn't changed. What changes though is the national interest. So the way it works is you can apply to go to the United States and have a green card so that you can work. With the national interest waiver, the EB2 national interest waiver, you can have an open green card essentially once you qualify. And some people say, this might take 5 years or something. From what we're hearing, it's anywhere from like 6 months to 18 months for this process. Now, what's changed? Well, who's allowed to apply has changed. The national interest has changed because there's a huge demand, a solid, huge demand for tradespeople. So if you happen to be a ticketed tradesperson with a good amount of experience, what's a good amount of experience? Well, they say certified and then plus 2 years. So usually you go through a 4-year apprenticeship and then 2 years as a certified, what have you. They want to see, work experience, how many years. They want references. They want to see education, any sort of certifications that you've gotten, that kind of thing. But they're opening it up for Canadians to apply for this. If you're a welder, a plumber, electrician, heavy duty mechanic, some of these positions are opening up. And again, you're not tied to a business. It's not like the H1 visas, which are almost impossible now. Nobody's getting these H1 visas because they've made it, I think it's like $100,000 per year to renew those. You have to be able to generate more than $100,000 a year for a business for them to even consider that. So no, this is the idea that Canadians can apply with their skills to move down south. And the guys to talk to with that are my friends over at The Bridge. The website is movetotheusa.com. So move the number 2, theusa.com, and go chat with them. If you have most people that I talk to are like, they have like 10 years experience in the trades. They want to know if they're eligible. So go give them a shout. And that's that. Other than that, like, there's a lot of people that are moving over on different visas. There's the L1 visa. If you have a business, that's if you're any sort of tradesman and you've had a business, your own, whether it's a sole proprietorship or a corporation, what have you, a lot of 3-letter businesses, you got a truck and tools and you employ maybe a couple of guys or not even. But if you have a successful business and you've been fulfilling contracts for like 3 years, you can move your business to the United States and get a visa under the L1 system where you're going over and you're just going with your business. So that's another opportunity for people. So if you find yourself in that category, go give the guys at The Bridge a shout. And basically what they do is they're a consulting business where they help out with the visa stuff, but they go a step ahead of that and they help you out with a lot of the other things that you're just not aware of that can happen when you move. I mean, I've done this several times. I've moved from my hometown in Canada. You know how hard it is to restart your life again. Well, try that in another country. I've done that in Japan with my wife. We've done that in reverse and came back here. we've had to go through immigration, but it's not just that. It's banking, it's moving your finances, it's getting your things moved over. It's all of that. So these guys, they'll help you out with all of that stuff, and they'll take care of you for years to come. It's not just one and done, get you in and out, show you a lawyer. These guys will actually, they'll help you move your business, they'll help you move your finances, they'll help you move everything and get you sorted. So yeah, I'd recommend people go check them out.
Is like a church's 10% cost. It's like give them 10% of what you got and they'll get you out of here.
Well, yeah,
I'm not promoting leaving Canada, my friends. Stay in Canada if you can. Stay in Canada if you can. But if you want out, there's definitely ways to get out. And I too, I'm very blessed that I have family in the U.S. and my 2 sons and I are considering, some family members are highly considering. I'll be leaving down to the U.S. in May for about an 8-9 week. I'm going to do a tour with my YouTube channel. We're going to be driving in a bus, one of these rock and roll buses. We're going to be going down to Texas, across to Florida, up to North Carolina, and back to Montana over like an 11 or 12 week period. And my 2 boys, 18 and 20, they're going to have an opportunity to fester some schools, look at some schools, and we're going to figure out what we want to do. And we don't have to do all that other stuff because I've got family that's there that can sponsor me down. So very blessed in that context. But, if you want to leave, it's interesting when you go to Europe. When you're in the States, I played football in the States. If someone didn't like it in Washington State, they might move to Colorado, or they might move to New York, or they might move to Florida. People in the States, they're constantly moving from state to state for business and work and stuff. But moving from Canada, right? You only got how many big cities here? 7. You got 7 cities to choose from. Other than that, you're living in Tumbler Ridge,
the Tumbler Ridge,
where I'm at, bro. Hey, listen, we were driving to Tumbler Ridge, and what are the windmills? The wind energies, wind turbines. So it's dystopian, right? Like, it's so strange. So we're driving. It's -14. The snow is blowing. There's a cop on our tail the whole way for like an hour. And of course, huge. My driver today, he's like, the cops are behind us. I was like, actually, the cops are behind us. But all of a sudden we came around the corner and there's wind turbines. There must have been 100 of them for about 15 minutes. It blew me out of, like, it's unbelievable. It's just it was just strange. There's a lot of industry up here. The gentleman that I had a conversation with today, Monty, his name is Monty. His can you turn that off? His wife, I don't know if that's, can you guys hear a wind blowing? His wife, sorry. His child was actually we'll land the plane here, my friends. I know it's been an hour and a half, and I really appreciate
but before you do, I want to address something that you just brought up, the wind turbines. So this is another example of government largesse and just wasted money. How many of those things were spinning when you traveled through there? Probably most of them were stationary, not moving.
No. Actually, about 70% were moving. Yeah, but it was very windy up here, and the snow is blowing.
Okay,
a lot of them don't move.
My dad lived in a small town in northern Ontario. My parents were living there for a while. It's called Elliott Lake. It used to be a uranium town, and then it switched to a retirement community. Now they were up there, and my dad's a retired engineer, and so the municipality knew about this. So they asked him, "Hey, could you do a thing for us?" And he said, "Yeah, sure. What would you like?" They said, "Well, there's these government grants for wind turbines, and we would like to get that money. They're make work projects. They're ready, turnkey, go. Can you do the research to because we need an engineer to look at this and so we can submit the paperwork." And my dad went and he did all the research. He went to the airport. He got average wind speed. He went to the different areas, all the calculations that you would need. And he factored it in, like the average wind speed in Elliott Lake is 5 kilometers per hour. Not enough to turn a wind turbine. And so he submitted his report. He said, based on this, I don't recommend that you do that. You get these. And they were pissed. They were absolutely infuriated with him because they're like, you know how many jobs that we're not going to have now? This is all they cared about. spending federal money on a project to make wind turbines that won't turn. And that's exactly
or to spend hundreds of millions to look for graves that aren't there. Andrew, I've got a head, man. I've got a really busy.
Jim, God bless you, right? Because just go, you got to go. Jim, thanks so much for coming.
Seeing you again, Clyde, and thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely.
And I just got a busy night at work tomorrow morning.
God bless you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
There he goes. He's out of here. He is out.
Yeah, you can land that plane. I just wanted to share that with you because you're talking about wind turbines.
Yeah, a very close someone that I looked up to as a father passed away last February. To get some issue, cancer. Very older man. He's from Bowen Island, and his neighbor actually had the first wind turbine in BC. If you're heading up the inlet, it's basically right on the point before you go to Gibson's. And he's a very wealthy financier guy. He actually had all the contracts, like the government will give out grants for electrical output, right? So the dams, the radio signals, the signals. He actually locked and secured all of the grants specifically for wind turbine energy. And they did studies on it. This is when I got married, 2007. This is when these studies were done. It took a couple of years. But what I thought today was absolutely astronomical. I can remember he was driving me to my wedding that day, and he had just lost hundreds of like a lot of money, like lots of money. And it was because he invested, and his partners invested so much money in researching this wind energy, this turbine energy. And it turned out that BC is not the place to put these things. And it just blew me away today that it's just weird. And when we were driving in England, I know this, I think this stuff comes from England. I'm fairly certain England or Amsterdam. When we were driving from Glasgow to Manchester, then Manchester to Brome Castle, there was these valleys, and you're driving through these valleys, and there must have been 200 that I saw. It's in 200 of them. And like you said at the beginning, none of them were moving. And if they were moving, it was like, it's just, it wasn't rock and rolling, bro.
No,
it wasn't rock and rolling. Anyways, do you have any more questions about Tumbler Ridge? Because I'm gonna, friends, I'm gonna make, we're gonna do some stuff here. I got a lot of, my head's really swollen with information and stories that I've got to process. I've done a lot of work today, and I'm so grateful for my assistant that came here today with me on the plane, and it's been driving me. It's just absolutely amazing, guys. So big shout out to the big dog. And I'm going to be doing a video on Tumbler Ridge. And if you're watching and you're one of these people that are talking shit on social media about me, I'm not here to get clicks and views and likes. This is what I do. I'm here for people. And the amazing conversations I had today with strong people in Tumbler Ridge, the stories that are coming out from mainstream, it's not what it is. It's just a vibrant town. Yes, there's distension in every town. The whole ideology in the schools, it has to be shut down. We have to reopen our healthcare centers. The hotel we're in today, in a land here, right? Like the hotel I'm in, it's fully booked. I'm very lucky that my friend that's here, my Connect, has got connections because we both have our own hotel room tonight. But I saw a lot of counselors. There are a ton of counselors up here, Clyde. There are so many therapists up here right now. They've come in from everywhere, and the kids are getting support that they shouldn't have to get. But there's a ton of support here. What's the big bus? What's the church? St. Joseph. There's a huge bus here. It's a massive, it's a massive bus. Like it looks like just massive, but it's a church. It's a church from Calgary. They've come here. They've got tents out there, and it's like if you want to go and talk to someone, it's there. There's so much support. It's just it's such a tragedy. It's the biggest tragedy I think Canada's. I mean, yeah, there was the university thing, but I mean, God bless it. Any tragedy is a bad tragedy, and there's, you know, children died today. Children passed away last week from an extreme event that I don't think needed to happen, especially from all the conversations I've had on the phone since I think it was Tuesday night at 6 o'clock when I started taking the phone calls for work. And I was going to come up here on Wednesday morning. I was going to be on a plane. I was going to be one of those therapists in one of these rooms working for the next month, but I can't do it because of all the decades of work that I've done with children, because my trauma from working with those kids would have come up in the work that I've been up here with, and I couldn't do it. So I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity from some of my donors to come up here and do the work that I need to do. And I will be posting some stuff out in the next couple of days about my findings here. And I'll say this, Clyde, what the media is saying is not true.
And that's what we want to get to the bottom of. And I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're there to uncover that.
God bless you, Clyde. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Clyde. We're gonna cut. God bless, and I hope you like my hotel room. God bless, people. Thanks for coming to my hotel room in Tumbler Ridge.